Our weekly nuggets of Live That Dream have seen all kinds of highs and lows in life that have somehow found ways to inspire our protagonists to rise above all odds and make it big. Of all the paradoxes and ironies that we've showcased these weeks, none has been as perfect yet absurd as our candidate for this week. Welcome again, friends. I'm Brian Tellis, back as your partner in rhyme, ready to dig into one of the most powerful and wide-ranging singing voices we've heard in rock and roll. This soldier of fortune has the dubious distinction of fronting Black Sabbath for a year and also at one point voicing Jesus Christ in the original recording of Andrew Lloyd Webber's 1970 rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. Best known, I think, for his work with British rock outfit Deep Purple, Ian Gillan is an acclaimed frontman and lyricist, driving a specific heavy sound in the 60s and 70s, as was the wont of the British hard rock acts of that time. After fronting it for 4 to 5 years, Gillan quit the band and the music business for a short time before returning with an eponymous solo band and then a year-long stint with Black Sabbath in 1983. Once again, after a regrouping with Deep Purple and putting out 2 more successful albums, Gillan left the band in 1989 before returning in 1993. I'm happy to report he continues to be in the band after all these years, adding his star power to a band that has gone on to achieve legendary status. From the band's seminal 1970 album, Deep Purple in Rock, where we heard Gillan's powerhouse vocals on tracks like, Child in Time and Speed King, to their next album, Machine Head, that featured classics such as Smoke on the Water, Highway Star. Gillan has been a driving force. Whenever he talks about his timelessness of Deep Purple's music, Gillan is effusive about it being a band effort despite him being the vocalist. I had the sheer good fortune of talking to Ian Pace and Roger Glover and Gillan on Zoom to commemorate the super deluxe re-release of the band's magnificent album, Machine Head. He mentioned to me that often the frontman walks away with all the credit, but in Deep Purple's case, the magic was the band. And that's how they found their rhythm. The success is collective, he said. Of course, we can't talk Deep Purple without talking about Smoke on the Water. Gillan drew my attention to the irony that the song was written about a stage that caught fire when the great musician Frank Zappa was on stage. Half a century later, Zappa's son, Dweezil Zappa, remixes the same song for the band. Talk about how life finds a way to come around and form full circle. Huh? On another occasion, Gillan has spoken about sharing notes with the legendary tenor Luciano Pavarotti about Smoke on the Water. The story goes that Pavarotti once expressed awe at Gillan's ability to sing the song differently each time, the tenor having heard him at least 6 times. He said, I quote, "Sometimes you're driving it on, sometimes it's laid back, sometimes the patterns change or the nuances are different, but it's the same song. If I did that with any of my famous arias, if I changed one, of expression, methodology, or interpretation, I would be crucified by the critics and the fans because we're not allowed to do that in opera. We have to mimic our original interpretation." Unquote. It's a good thing that Gillan doesn't need to mimic anything, least of all being a quintessential rock star with a voice, I think, for all ages. That's a wrap from us this week. I'll see you next week for yet another edition of Live That Dream.
94.3 Radio 1.